SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. From personal banking to growing your business or buying a home, our expert guidance makes it simple. We're more than a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Pike County, here comes your morning show. Dave in the morning on 93.5 FM, SuperTalk Mississippi.
So now, understand, you're not going to dictate to me what I do and what I don't do, but I'm still the mayor, Mr. Brown.
None of this meeting is recorded. None by any parties. Correct?
No, sir, none is recorded. I'm being accused.
Any conversation.
Said I want to make it on record. I want the allegations in writing, party accused, or on recording of this harassment.
And now, here's your host, Dave Hughes.
Good morning to you. How you doing? Thursday morning, Dave Hughes here. And, you know, we don't have enough to worry about. Let's pay attention to something outside the realm of the normal for just a bit. We've got more audio from Tuesday night's work session we're going to get to. Don't worry about that. When I get done here and I leave for lunch, I'll be going through the roundabout in Summit, which is, of course, as you know, Mississippi roulette at this point. So far, so good. My confidence level is not high. Our first weekend with the new roundabout open in Summit is coming up starting tomorrow night. One guarantee we have is that two things will happen: hilarity and hijinks. I feel pretty confident in that. So we've got that going on. We've got a lot of stuff happening. We're just a few days away from our primary elections here in the state of Mississippi next Tuesday. Thought Selectman Tommy McKenzie made a good point on Facebook because some people were getting confused. That is not the city of Macomb elections. Next Tuesday. It's not the city of Macomb elections. That's in May. May will be the opening salvo, if you will, and the final elections will be in June. Next Tuesday has nothing to do with the city of Macomb. But we do have senator races. We have House of Representatives races for the primary action building up to this November. That's coming up on Tuesday. We'll talk more about that as we get closer to it. But no, today I want to talk about the foundation of your house. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. You know what can just seriously mess up the foundation of your house? An earthquake. I don't know if you heard about this. This morning, at 5:30 this morning, and this just to the southwest of Shreveport up in North Louisiana, they had an earthquake. Now, as always happens, when they have an earthquake, they release an estimate of what the strength was. And then as more data comes in and they crunch all the numbers, that estimate changes into the actual strength of the earthquake. Most of the time it goes down. Most of the time they estimate high. They'll say it was a 9.2. Oh, no, turns out it was only a 9.1. You're only sort of dead. Stand down. They adjust it one way or the other. Well, they had a weird situation with this earthquake in North Louisiana today in terms of the numbers because they went up after they looked at everything. Just to the southeast of Shreveport, a little place called Coushatta, Louisiana. They had a 4.9 this morning. 4.9. That's significant. That will get your attention. That's one everyone in that area, and I guarantee you everyone in Shreveport felt it. When you get to the upper fours, yeah, that's no longer the situation where, sometimes we hear about there was an earthquake. It was a 2.3. Nobody knew when it's a 2.3. When it's a 4.9, yeah, they have your attention now. Now, I did some looking. That was the second largest earthquake in the history of Louisiana. About 3 miles deep. The strongest earthquake, by the way, in the history of the state of Louisiana was back in 2006, February 9th, 2006, when they had a 5.3 that hit Grand Isle. That was the largest recorded earthquake in Louisiana history since we developed technology and our science past the point where we thought the gods were angry and realized what was going on. So very close to that. That was a only 0.4 difference. Now, it's a little deceptive when you hear the numbers and you think 5.3, 4.9, that's pretty close. Not as close as you think. Because on the earthquake scale, on the Richter scale, that is a logarithmic. That increases real quick. What that means is a 5.3 is many, many times stronger than a 4.9. Now, here's why I bring this up. I mean, number one, we just had a fairly significant sized earthquake relatively close to us here in southwest Mississippi. But I come back to earthquake preparedness in our state. I have had people on the air from state government. We've talked about it. Every year, they go over the game plan for what we're going to do in the state of Mississippi if we have an enormous earthquake. And once upon a time, this is back like in the 90s. I don't have this kind of data since then. If the New Madrid fault went off again, by the way, we've now apparently officially decided that's pronounced New Madrid. I don't know why. I don't know why we keep changing the pronunciation of names. Looking at you, Uranus. No, it's Uranus. Okay, sure, whatever. If it makes you feel better, Chippy, go to bed with a smile on your face. I'm going to still call it the New Madrid fault because I'm an independent, bloody-minded dingbat. That's why. But the New Madrid, as you know, famously, it erupted. It was an enormous earthquake, one of the largest ever recorded in the continental United States. It was so big that it opened up a huge fissure and the Mississippi River drained into it. I believe it was in Missouri. And as a result, the Mississippi River ran backwards for a while it was filling that up. It was a big deal. Well, it could happen again. They have this every year. Emergency management gets together every year. The state government gets together. They run through simulations. They run through drills. They go over what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, who's going to do what in case that happens. But at one point, it was estimated, depending on where the earthquake actually happened on the New Madrid, you could have buildings collapse in Jackson. Now, I'm not saying we would necessarily feel it right here in southwest Mississippi. Again, it would depend on where on the fault the earthquake actually happened. But it would be a significant event if that goes off. The earthquakes are getting closer. Again, it was a 4.9 is the current number they're putting out for that earthquake. I've seen everything from 4.6 up, but 4.9 is what they're going with at the moment. Right over there in Shreveport. You may have been to Shreveport. I've been to Shreveport many times. It's right there. That's uncomfortably close. So we cannot believe I'm going to say this just a couple of months from the start of hurricane season. We're in the middle of tornado season. Let's talk about your earthquake preparedness for a moment. Cannot believe I'm having to say this out loud, but this morning, kind of a little bit of a wake-up call. Get ready. The number one rule, if you know anyone or ever have known anyone who lived in Southern California, Los Angeles area, San Francisco, all in that area, they deal with earthquakes. 4.9 for them is like, oh, it must be Thursday. It's no big deal. But it is ingrained in the people out in Southern California. They don't think about what to do. Step one, the very first thing, if you feel an earthquake start, it's the exact opposite process that you would go through for a tornado or a hurricane. You don't want to go to the central room in the house. You want to get out of the house. You want to get outside. If we were to ever have a big, impressive earthquake, get out. Because during an earthquake, houses have a tendency to collapse. Again, I'm not saying it's going to be anything that huge here that ever happens, but the possibility is not zero. In terms of preparation, and that's part of the problem here, because we are trained, we know what to do if a hurricane's coming. We know what to do when the tornado siren goes off. We've been there. It's kind of the same thing as the Southern California folks with earthquakes. We usually don't have to put a lot of thought into it. We know what to do. If we ever have a big earthquake, for a few seconds, a minute, maybe 2 minutes, you're going to have to fight against those instincts. Look it up, do some research. We'll go a little deeper into this later on, another day. But a 4.9 happening this close to us on the outskirts of the New Madrid fault zone, we're just going to treat it as a one-off and say, oh, that's not a harbinger of anything. What we'll have to do is watch over the next few days and see if any more happen along that line. Now, that includes up into Missouri, up into Ohio. We have to keep our eye out. I'm going to do that for you. Don't worry. And see if any more happen. Because if you start having multiple smaller earthquakes along a fault line, you're building up to a bigger one. We have been told forever. I've been told my entire life that we're due for the New Madrid fault to go off again. We're going to... hold on. Let me jot a note down when I get off. Got to see if we can get somebody on tomorrow morning on mornings. Want to talk to them from the state about earthquake preparedness, what we do, how you do it. That's going to be the way to handle this. We'll get a... you think I'm joking? I made a note. I made a note because sometimes I walk in the kitchen and don't remember why I'm in the kitchen, and when I finally do, it's because I was headed to the bathroom, and it's almost too late then. So I have to make myself little notes at this point in my life. When we get off the air, I'm going to reach out and see what we can do about that. So join me tomorrow morning on mornings, starting at 6:06, and we will discuss this in greater depth. This is me mentioning this not as a way to go over all the steps and make sure you know every fine detail. This is to put it on your radar. This is to get your attention. Is anything about to happen? Probably not. Is anything going to happen in the near future? Probably not. But as you well know, the time to start your preparedness for hurricane season is not in August, it's now. Well, except for the milk sandwich ingredients. Those will go bad between now and then. You got to kind of wait closer to get that, because everybody enjoys a good milk sandwich when the wind tops 100. Still don't understand that one either. But in terms of thinking about safety, what you're going to do, where you're going to go, how you're going to handle it, now is the time to start thinking about that, just in case. Because I'm sorry, you don't buy car insurance because you're planning to have an accident. You don't do preparation for an earthquake because you're expecting one to hit at any minute. Same category here. So keep that in mind. But a 4.9 this morning in North Louisiana. That's that's a pretty significant one. Been through one in the upper fours, up close to 5. As I have explained it, and this is the best way I can think of to explain it, woke us up in the middle of the night. It felt like the Hulk had punched the building at ground level. This big, loud, cracking boom. Everything shook. There was a picture hanging on the wall that didn't quit swinging for like 5 minutes. Did it cause massive devastation? No. Did everybody know? And was everyone aware we had just had an earthquake? Oh, yeah. So I know the only topic of conversation at the coffee shops in Shreveport this morning, because they all know that happened. There's no guessing. What's going to come after that? We'll see. We'll see if we can work something out for tomorrow morning on mornings here on SuperTalk Mississippi. When we come back, more audio from Tuesday night's work session of the Macomb City Board, my friend. Keep it here.
Every now and then, we remind all of you loving, awesome, hardworking husbands that you have a premium it's time to renew. No, it's not life insurance, car insurance, or health insurance. It's way more important than those. I'm Kristen. Gentlemen, it's time to renew those long-term wife insurance policies. When you surprise her with a gift from Selmans, you remind her that no matter what lies ahead, you and she will get through it together. Your gift tells her this long-term wife insurance policy is for life. Renew your long-term wife insurance policy right here at Selmans. We're in it for the long term with you.
Don't miss Dave in the morning. Even when you miss it the first time, you can catch it on the podcast. Missing out would be a crime. SuperTalk 93.5 is always the place to be. Want to get the podcast version? Here, my friend, is the key. SuperTalk PikeCounty.com. It's all around, it's all the rage. Spotify
weekday mornings at 6 after 9 on 93.5 FM, or you can catch up anytime by going to
SuperTalkPikeCounty.com.
Dave in the Morning at SuperTalkPikeCounty.com. Catch up and catch on. Welcome back. Little breaking news, additional breaking news. The earthquake was breaking. Don't think it broke anything, but still the news was breaking. Additional breaking news. Apparently Britney Spears was arrested in Los Angeles last night. Now you just hear that headline and you go, oh my goodness, horrible. Well, she was cited and released by the California Highway Patrol in Ventura County. Got a court date on May 4th. Willing to bet she was either speeding in her speedy little car or something like that. That is the assumption to go with right now. But before you hear it, because this will be overblown, you know this will be overblown. It's going to be that she was running, monkeys that had little tiny backpacks full of cocaine on them out of Colombia and trying to get them over to the docks. It's going to be something ridiculous that is made out of this, because that's how we operate as a society now. They have not released any details about it, but if I had to guess, just knowing what we know about the situation, she was speeding, possibly driving while inebriated, don't know. But this is not going to be the big story they're going to desperately try to make it out to be. Just want to make sure that you have the right perspective when you hear that news, because you just hear the headline, oh, Britney Spears was arrested. Your mind goes in weird places these days, especially. Now, let's go back to the work session Tuesday night. We had a couple of things needed to talk about. One of them was the discussion that Selectwoman Baylor got started about Greyhound in the city of Macomb. This has been talked about before, as will be referenced in this conversation. It's a very short, very quick conversation, but I think it's one worth having. Let's go back to Tuesday night.
Number 6, Greyhound, Selectwoman Baylor.
I recall like maybe a year or so ago, I think you may have brought it up, Ms. Isaac.
She did.
About the Greyhound coming back into our area. And I was just saying if we could revisit that and have it to coordinate with the Amtrak and the building with Amtrak. Greyhound, we revisit it to a joint partnership.
It depends on Greyhound. It depends on location. And most likely it's going to depend on their turnaround as it relates to the buses, but it's an option that we can talk to them about.
With Amtrak.
I would just like to point out, this is what I was talking about yesterday when I said we have to make sure we get our minutes in front of the cameras and the microphones, but the goal sometimes is to not say very much. Can we talk to Greyhound about coming back to Macomb? Well, that will depend on Greyhound. No, really? Thanks for the information. I thought it just magically happened and we didn't have to check with them before we checked with them. Yeah, we know it depends on Greyhound. That was the purpose of the question from Selectwoman Baylor. Can we talk to Greyhound again and see what we need to make happen, how we need to bring this about? It's not, not that complicated, but the only answer we get is, well, that's going to depend on Greyhound. Did get into some other information that it depends on location, which we're going to expand on here in a second, and it depends on turnaround for the buses. I would like to add a third factor, okay? A third factor, which may have changed somewhat with the Delaware Avenue project. Also, Greyhound was probably getting tired of having to replace the suspension on their buses after driving on Macomb streets. May have been part of it. You can't tell me it wasn't. Oh, I'm sure it wasn't. I don't care what you're sure about. Prove it. Maybe we should talk to Greyhound. Oh, wait, we can't talk to Greyhound because that's going to depend on Greyhound. We have turned municipal governance into a geometry class because all we do all day is talk in circles. Let's continue.
Greyhound.
Okay, well, Greyhound partner with Amtrak in the same building.
Mm-hmm. We can talk to them about that.
Okay.
Yeah, if I remember right, the barrier with Greyhound is they didn't want to come all the way across town. They wanted it somewhere to hug the interstate and for us to develop some type of partnership or location along the interstate that it kind of hurt too much of their time to come downtown.
That makes sense, actually. Why navigate all the way through town and work that big old bus through everything? It'd be a much better situation to just, take care of things right there next to the interstate. That makes sense. I would say, and the intention from Select One and Baylor is not a bad idea, per se, not at surface level, to have the bus station and the train station in the same building. I get that. The problem is, how many people get off the bus and get on the train or vice versa? I'm not sure there's quite the overlap there that it appears it would be. Not making fun of the idea. It's a logical idea, but you start thinking into it a little deeper, and I'm not really sure that's the advantage we would want it to be. So they want a location out next to the interstate.
I think that would be a great partnership if they were willing to come downtown, but I think the conversation last time was they wanted to hug the interstate. So like in Jackson, the partnership is at like a Love's gas station right on the interstate. I'm trying to remember what the stop is in Brookhaven, but I think that's the partnership that we're still looking for, is someone along the interstate to step up and host these travelers for a short period of time while they're waiting on the bus.
As the world as it exists right now, we have the perfect location for a bus terminal in Macomb. It's never going to happen. They're looking for something that's already a going concern, a going business. That's why we're saying the word partnership so many times. So that all they have to do is pull up, unload the buses, maybe bring one computer terminal in there to handle ticketing and the like, and then they're good. We have a building on Delaware sitting on the interstate, the old Rainbow car dealership building that has been sitting there vacant forever. That big parking lot, lots of turnaround. The logistics would be easy to work out. And literally inside the building, you look out the window and you see the exit and the on-ramps for the interstate. That would be a perfect location. I'm not sure that's going to fulfill what we're looking for here because, again, they're looking for a turnkey solution where they can just start pulling up and loading people on the bus. That's what they want. They don't have to want to deal with anything else. So that would be the perfect location. He mentioned Love's Truck Stop. This is not a Macomb thing, but this is not SuperTalk Macomb. It's SuperTalk Pike County. What about the Loves in Fernwood? They partnered with Loves in Jackson, as Selectman Cotting just said. If we want to get a Greyhound bus service going in Pike County, there's an option. Sits right on the interstate. I would say plenty of room, but have you been there lately? It's nonstop busy. Every time I pass by it, it's crammed. So the space might be a little bit of a issue. But this conversation went about a year ago, and those were the concerns that were brought up by Greyhound. They wanted something closer to the interstate with enough space so that the buses could easily maneuver. Has anyone done anything to try to figure that out, to try to work that out? Or did they say that and we went, oh, well, it was a good idea, and then went about our business? Because I agree, Greyhound would be a valuable resource in Pike County. And in Macomb, yeah, it'd be fine, be great. We used to have a Greyhound terminal in the city of Macomb. It was last on Broadway. right down there, right around the corner from Central Office Supplies, right there at that old gas station. That used to be, once upon a time, a Greyhound stop. We haven't had one in quite a while. But my question, again, we're going to go by results here, as we always do. The question is this. We've talked about it. They said, here's what we want. And we said, okay, well, we'll keep that in mind. Thanks anyway. That's not how negotiations work. If you have a business looking to locate something, let's talk about down in Fernwood, the biofuel plant that's coming in. Big investment, big deal for Pike County. When they expressed an interest in coming to Pike County, and somebody said on economic development, okay, what do you need? What are you looking for? And they said, well, we want something with easy access to a rail line. We want easy access to the Georgia Pacific plant because we're going to be using their wood cast-offs to make this. We're going to need this, this, and this. You've got two choices at that point. If you want that business to come here, you either get busy and check all their boxes, find something that every single thing they're looking for is there. Or you say, oh, well, okay, well, I don't even know if we could do anything like that. Thanks, though. And then a year later, do it again. We have to be focused on results. If you think you're tired of me saying the word results and talking about putting results ahead of process in our order of operations, if you think you're tired of hearing me say that, imagine how I feel, because you probably haven't heard every time I've said that. It's a truism. This is not some arcane science and idea. We're not going to cast a spell to make this happen. We have to do the work. How much? So that is my question. Since we had that conversation a year ago, did we drive around town one time and go, well, I don't really see anything like that, and then drop it? Or did we put some work in and try to figure out a way to make this happen? That's how things happen. That's how good things happen for a community, for a county. It takes work, takes effort, it takes attention. It takes sometimes thinking outside of the box a little bit. You know, you've seen the thing, they've allocated the money. They're putting a bridge on 51 so that that little spur line that crosses at 51 from the railroad can be more active and not disrupt traffic. That's the conversation. This is what I'm talking about. Sometimes you've got to think outside the box. Oh, they want to buy a lot to build a building? Well, we need a bridge. What? Yeah. There's a reason. How much effort has been put into figuring this out? I suspect it's fairly low, or the quality of effort was very low because we have no solutions to offer. Other than one, again, Select Woman Baylor, I am not criticizing her. Yes, we need to keep having this conversation. Very good job. But they've told us what they want. They want something close to the interstate with plenty of room to navigate that's already a going concern that they can form a partnership with to start bus service there. That's the three things. The suggestion of partnering with Amtrak and putting it in the same building ticks off the third one of those boxes. Someplace they can partner. Okay, got that. Room to navigate? It's not there. Near the interstate? It's not there. So they gave you three things they're looking for. You can't go back with a proposal that only addresses one of their three needs. They're still not going to be interested. You have to make them, we're going to get into persuasion and sales technique for a second here. You have to make them an offer they can't refuse. The Godfather had a point. You need to, if they tell you, I need this, this, and this, and you come back and say, hey, how about you put one here? It's got this, this, and this. The three things you're looking for, exactly as it is. We've done the legwork. We've talked to them. They're open to this idea. They're ready to go. Let's get you two together in a room and talk this through and get this going. You have to build a situation, build an opportunity to where they would feel stupid if they said no. We don't do that because we have this regal air of superiority sometimes in the city of Macomb, where, well, you should want to be here. You should be desperate to be here because we are Macomb. Haven't you heard? We're so important, we have the word city in our name twice. You must be here, obviously. Well, we need this, and this. Oh, well, I don't really know what we can do about that. But, I mean, come on, it's Macomb. You want to be in Macomb, right? And then they go on about their way, and we wind up with nothing except a false sense of superiority. Now, sometimes you got to roll your sleeves up and do the work. The fact that we had this conversation a year ago and we come back a year later with a suggestion that only deals with one of the three major points that they had that they were looking for in a location to come back to Macomb tells me we haven't done much work in that regard. So if we're serious about this, we got to do the legwork. Well, there's not really any options. Can you make one? Can you create one out of whole cloth if you have to? Do you want it or not? It comes down to how bad do you want a Greyhound terminal. If it's it'd be nice to have, okay, fine. Treat it as such. Don't keep talking about it and talking into the ground until hopefully one day they come around and realize how incredible Macomb is and how much they desperately should be here. If it's not a nice to have, if you think it would be important to the citizens, if you think it would be a useful resource and something we would be better off having than we are not having, well, sometimes you got to go to some lengths to make it happen. I don't know if you were listening to Richard yesterday. If not, shame on you. He was having the conversation and Southwest Mississippi came up. You got a message on the C Spire text line talking about when are we going to get these kind of deals in Southwest Mississippi, talking about, there's another data center going in. I think it's around Canton or Clinton, but they both start with C and have the same number of syllables, so I'm mixing them up in my head all the time. Canton has the flea market. Clinton has Mississippi College. This should be simple to keep straight, but for me, for whatever reason, it's not. It's a blind spot in my brain. He mentioned and he said his response to when are we going to get those kind of things in Southwest Mississippi was, as usual, dead on point. What have we done in Southwest Mississippi to put these deals together? They don't just happen. You don't just wake up one day to a phone call and somebody left you a voice message because you slept in today and they say, hey, we're coming to your county. Get ready. Let's hold a press conference. No, there's work. There's a lot of work. Ask the economic development folks. None of this just happens. You got to do the work. You got to put the best foot forward as an area and check as many of the boxes that they're looking to have checked as you possibly can. And sometimes that takes getting creative and putting some work into things. If we haven't done that, we can't be too upset at the results. Talking about putting work into things, I told you this yesterday. We got introduced to a new city employee, a new department head on Tuesday night. This had been discussed several weeks back that they were going to add some positions, specifically add a position under Public Works. They were going to have one person in charge of water and sewer and one person in charge of the streets, the roads. Good idea. I like that. Well, we have our roads chief.
The introduction of new employees. We have one new employee I'd like to introduce. It's Jay Wilson. Jay joined us this week. This is his second day on the job. And Jay, would you come up and introduce yourself to this board so that they get to know who you are and a little bit about yourself.
Well, most of you guys know me. You know where I've been. Mr. Eddie, I think we spent a little bit more time today and got to know each other a little bit better than we had in the past. But for those watching and for those at this board that care. I'm Jay Wilson. I was born and raised here in Macomb. I've spent the last 20-ish years in commercial construction at some phase or another, the last 6 specifically in state construction. And I'm ready to come home. I'm ready to not drive 3 hours every day to go to work, and I'm ready to take the skills that I've learned over the last 20 years and apply them here where it counts the most to me.
Let me just say, as someone who spent a couple of years driving back and forth to Jackson every day, every morning, some of that time while everyone was locked in their home cowering because of the mystery virus, boy, do I get that. And that's an important part of the consideration. If you can change things to where instead of driving an hour and a half to get to work and then an hour and a half home, so after an 8-hour day, if you do 3 hours of driving, that's 11 hours of your day gone. If you can change that situation to where suddenly your 8-hour day takes 8 hours and 10 minutes, that's a huge bonus in your life. And I get that. So I don't want to underestimate the importance of what Jay just said. Yeah, that's a big deal.
Congratulations.
Okay. Select one, Isaac.
Okay. Will he be a department head or not? I'm just asking the question because if he's a department head, we're supposed to vote on a department head. Okay.
This continues to drive me crazy. I just have to point this out. And this, again, is what I was talking about. Filler words. Words said that have no meaning, no importance, and no necessity in the conversation. Every time you ask a question and then say, I'm just asking a question, we know, we heard you. We heard you ask a question. You don't then have to define that was a question you just asked. That bothers me. That's always bothered me because it very much smacks of assuming everybody around you is a moron. I'm going to ask them a question, then I better tell them I asked them a question, or they might not realize I asked a question. I'm not stupid, Select Woman. I know a ton of people who aren't dumb, and treating people like they're stupid is not a winning strategy. I'm just asking a question, and don't mistake what I'm saying. I realize this is a habit to her at this point. That is just filler words. That's her version of saying about every fifth word in a sentence. That the majority of people do. It's one of the first things you work on when you get into broadcasting is get rid of your ums and the unnecessary noises that everybody makes in their conversation every day. That's her version of that. I get that. It still comes across as assuming the people you're talking to are so stupid that they don't realize the question you just asked was you asking a question. It comes off as mildly insulting. I'm just trying to help here.
So he would not be a department head?
He's an...
Yes.
Wait, let me... Remember who... He is a department head. He is not an appointee. This board only votes on appointees. All department heads are hired by the CA. Selectman Cotty.
So there is a lot of overlap with department heads and appointees. So the appointees that we vote on are clerk, police chief, fire chief, attorney.
Not fire chief. Fire chief is hired.
Agree, disagree on that one. Maybe through civil service we have to approve it then. Anyways. Judge, prosecutor, and defense attorney. So that's the clarification. I know I had a few other people who had the same question.
Why are we so worried about making sure everybody pays proper deference to the board? Don't you know who we are? Did you hire somebody without asking me first? What next? You going to want the keys to the evidence locker at police headquarters? We've been down that road. That was stupid too. We spend more this is Jay Wilson introducing himself and talking about how excited he is to come on board. And the very first reaction to that is, well, did we go through the right process on this? I'm just asking a question here. I thought we were supposed to be checked to hire him. Does that mean you didn't want to hire him? You wouldn't have hired him? If the outcome wouldn't have been different, the process doesn't matter. Not nearly as much. Oh, no, but we got to follow the rule of the... Oh, be quiet. We've been doing that for the better part of a decade, almost a full decade. Look where it's gotten us. Maybe... I know. I would apologize, but I'm not. Maybe we should focus on results.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because when we had our meeting about what he was doing, we also talked about he would have the same, he would not report this furlough. So I'm just trying to have some clarity.
He's a department head.
Okay, he's a department head. Okay, so he's okay.
Yes.
I'm just trying to make sure we have some clarity.
Sure. And
I'm not sure there's enough clarity on the planet. I'm really not. That was like the 8th time he's been referred to as a department head, and now all of a sudden that makes sense? Yeah, no.
And what he has is street. Eric has everything related to water. And what Jay will have is everything related to the streets, so that we have opportunity to satisfy the mission that we signed up for. And so I think it's I think we're positioning ourselves for success as we go forward.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So do the trees that's in the right of way, cities right of way, the ditches close to the road, is that something that you will be addressing?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
That's all a part. Drainage, anything relating to the streets. It will be.
Now, see, that's an appropriate question in this situation. Makes sense. You're going to be covering this too? You need to know who to go talk to about something. Yes, a very appropriate question from Selectman Mullins.
Okay.
I will be getting an updated org structure out in the near term, so those questions will be very clearly delineated. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. It just grated on my nerves a little bit. I know that's a surprise. That never happens with me. I understand. But come on. Let's just use a modicum, a dollop, a soupçon of common sense. As a fun side note, I don't care if I pronounced it right.
If you cried out for more, if you reached out for me,
Final break. I do not know where this hour went. This is one of those mornings I just realized what time it is. We're out of time, basically. We'll wrap it up with some final thoughts right after this on SuperTalk, Mississippi Pike County 93.5. Keep it here.
let me take a step towards you. Let me feel you in my hands. Let me cross this line and show you where it leads. There's a darkness down inside me that I know we'll both enjoy, and it's screaming from within to set it free. I have left this flying nightmare in my wakeful out of sight. I want this deviation by design.
Every now and then, we remind all of you loving, awesome, hardworking husbands that you have a premium it's time to renew. No, it's not life insurance, car insurance, or health insurance. It's way more important than those. I'm Kristen. Gentlemen, it's time to renew those long-term wife insurance policies. When you surprise her with a gift from Selmans, you remind her that no matter what lies ahead, you and she will get through it together. Your gift tells her this long-term wife insurance policy is for life. Renew your long-term wife insurance policy right here at Selmans. We're in it for the long term with you.
Don't miss Dave in the morning. even when you miss it the first time. You can catch it on the podcast. Missing out would be a crime. SuperTalk 93.5 is always the place to be. Wanna get the podcast version? Here, my friend, is the key. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com. It's all there and it's all the rage. Spotify, Amazon, or Apple are just right there on the page. Dave in the morning, late at night, or anytime you have the break. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com. It's all there and it's all the rage. Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, or just right there on the page.
Closing time. Open all the doors and let you out into the world.
Yep, we have run the old clock dry. I would like to say, by the way, I turned out I didn't need my note because during the break, got a hold of Alex, earlier break in the show, got a hold of Alex Payton, who does all of our guest booking and scheduling and stressing. She does a lot of stressing. She is the queen of brick throwing, by the way. Ask her about that if you ever run into her. I got a hold of her and told her what I was looking for mornings tomorrow. Talked to somebody from MEMA or someplace about earthquakes, because now is a golden opportunity to bring this up and discuss it with that 4.9 up about 7 miles outside of Shreveport this morning, about 5:30 in the morning. By the way, that is a rude way to wake up. That is much more effective and yet much, much worse than an alarm clock. You either have some tinkly, boring music start playing in the middle of the night, or your entire building that you're in starts shaking and quivering and there are loud, unexplained noises. I'll take the tinkly music, thank you. But this is something, every so often we've got to renew our attention on this and remind ourselves that we do live in an earthquake zone in Mississippi. Famously had an enormous earthquake. And I do agree it's not a question of if, it's a question of when the New Madrid fault goes off again. It'll happen. So we need to have the discussion about what we're going to do about that, especially as we're starting to have strong earthquakes. I classify 4.9 as strong. If it's strong enough to feel, I classify it as a strong earthquake. So if we're having those within a couple of 100 miles of the Mississippi state line, yeah, it's time to have another conversation about it. And I guarantee you one thing. This has been mentioned at MEMA headquarters today, this morning. They've already had a conversation about this, and we'll have more coming forward, I have no doubt, because it's a very useful event to focus attention back on something that we kind of ignore, and with good reason. I mean, it's not going to happen today. NOAA isn't tracking the earthquake moving in this direction, so we don't get attention on it. We have to force it. So I believe we're going to work it out. We're going to have something tomorrow. And we're going to talk about earthquakes because, well, of course we are. It's March in Mississippi. Why wouldn't you be talking about earthquakes, right? You have a wonderful day. Tomorrow morning, 6:06, Lance and I take over the network with Mornings. My friend, I'll see you then.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.